I never imagined a single dance could bridge two worlds. Then a black girl changed everything. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The sun hung low, casting a fiery orange glow across our small town, igniting everything with a raw warmth that felt both familiar and alien. I was wrapped up in my own little bubble, struggling to breathe beneath the weight of expectations. The ordinary haunt of my life felt suffocating, each heartbeat echoing louder than the last. Her name was Zara. She showed up like a comet streaking through the mundane sky, mesmerizing everyone with a grace that felt almost otherworldly. The first time I saw her dance, my heart stopped. It wasn't just movement, it was poetry, thunder, and silence all wrapped into one. Crowds flocked, whispers swirled, and I stood at the perimeter, my hands trembling, clutching my notebook like a lifeline. She was different. The way she moved, it felt like she was from another realm, strikingly beautiful, powerful, and untouched by our cramped little world. I had always admired dancers, the way they could lose themselves in the rhythm, but Zara was extraordinary. When she spun, it was as if time danced with her. Colors flew, each twirl painted the air with vivid reds and blues, and I gasped, feeling the thrill ripple through the crowd. But her arrival stirred something ugly too. Eye rolls, scoffs, and shouts drowned the music. Some labeled her an outsider, others called her a threat, and I felt those barbed whispers sting my skin. I watched from the sidelines, mouth dry, heart heavy. I didn't understand why they couldn't see the beauty, why they were so quick to dismiss what was different. Zara became not just a dancer, but a whirlwind of hope and unfiltered talent. My best friend, Jess, tried to pull me away from the scene. "You're never gonna fit in, Emma. Just let it go." But I couldn't. I was drawn to Zara like a moth to a flame, knowing well that the light might scorch me in the end. One night, as shadows clung to the corners and friction crackled in the air, I made my way to a dance battle, a place buzzing with raw energy and tension. Rivals and friends danced, movements spoke louder than words. Zara took the stage, her eyes fierce, her body alive. I could see it was fighting for something bigger than applause. My chest tightened with every beat as she swayed, the world fading around us, and just when the audience was lost in her power, an unexpected roar of harsh laughter erupted, disrupting the magic. The energy shifted. Fear plunged into my gut. Zara faltered for a moment, confusion painting her face. It was as though in that instant, she was remembering who she was and who she wasn't. Then the dance floor split into chaos. Hands pulled Zara away as shock settled over me, hammering into my soul. She caught my eye just for a second, and my heart shattered. In that moment, a desperate question lingered between us: could we ever truly connect? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash the like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The aftermath of the chaos settled like dust in my mind. Outside, the streetlights flickered on, painting the pavement in a spectrum of yellow and orange, yet the world felt dimmer. My heart still raced as I peered through the crowd, searching for Zara. Where had she gone? I could hardly breathe, the tightness in my chest squeezing tighter with each passing second. As the rest of the crowd dispersed, the energy that once filled the air turned stagnant, sour with lingering hostility. I thought of Jess, who would have rolled her eyes at how I was still fixated on the dance floor. I couldn't help but imagine Zara's face in that moment of uncertainty. Did she think it was worth it to fight against the disdain? Did she know how many people believed in her? I turned away, wrapped in my own unrequited feelings, casting one last glance over my shoulder. The distance felt insurmountable, yet I couldn't dismiss the flicker of hope, the tiny voice in my head that begged me to chase after her. The following days dragged on, steeped in uneasiness. School felt like a dead zone, conversations muffled by the weight of unsaid words. I found my friends whispering about Zara's performance, rumors swimming like shadows in every locker room. It was maddening. The more they talked, the more I wanted to defend her. "You don't see what I see," I wanted to scream. One afternoon, during lunch, I caught sight of a flyer tacked to the wall near the cafeteria. Community Dance Workshop, it read, and beneath it, images of dancing silhouettes, vibrant and inviting. Right there, beside Zara's name, the words "all levels welcome" led a rush of exhilaration through me. Maybe this was a chance away to understand what she felt when she danced, to bridge the gap between our two worlds, but that spark was extinguished as quickly as it came. I could already feel Jess' disapproving gaze. "Emma, you can't just waltz into a workshop where you don't belong. You're not a dancer. You'll look ridiculous." The confidence drained from my veins like the final drops from a broken bottle. As I met her doubtful expression, the thrill faded, leaving behind a void filled with uncertainty. Yet, later that night, something inexplicable tugged at my heart. With a surge of determination, I ripped the flyer off the wall and shoved it into my backpack, a small, brave act of defiance against my doubts. I would go, if only to support Zara, and maybe, just maybe, to discover a piece of myself I had long buried. As the workshop approached, I made a pact with myself: I would find her, speak to her. Even if it was just to apologize for not defending her that night. I could faintly hear the echo of her dance in my mind, a haunting melody imbued with vulnerability. I could visualize her strength beneath the surface. I wanted her, in all her complexity, to see me too. The day came, the air thick with anticipation. The gymnasium exuded warmth, filled with the sound of laughter and music, each beat igniting the energy around me. There she was, Zara, her presence commanding the room like a shimmering beacon. She moved fluidly, effortlessly, her spirit alighting even the corners where shadows lingered. I was mesmerized, my fears crumbling under the glow of her passion. Just as the workshop began, I felt a hand slip into mine. Startled, I turned to find a girl I barely recognized: Maya, a classmate notorious for her silence and her canvas-covered arms that hinted at a tumultuous past. "If you want to dance, just be free. Nobody's judging here," she whispered, her gaze searching for understanding. I felt an unexpected warmth and courage swell in my chest, stealing my breath. Awash in encouragement, I took a step forward. But that moment of clarity splintered the very next second when I caught a glimpse of Zara looking over her shoulder, her expression unreadable. A silence enveloped me, the connection suddenly seeming fragile. Did she recognize my existence? Then, as we moved through the workshop, something shifted. Zara danced past me, her eyes meeting mine, and the world around us blurred. In that fleeting heartbeat, she reached out, a soft brush of her hand against mine, a gesture that ignited a spark I could have sworn was magical. It filled the air with electricity, as if we were two dancers on the edges of the same heartbeat, holding the weight of the worlds between us. But before I could ponder the blossoming connection, the gym doors burst open. A group of my classmates stormed in, their laughter tinged with mockery, eyes zeroing in on Zara. "What are you doing here, freak?" one shouted, the words dripping with venom. All the progress we'd made in that space teetered on the brink of destruction. Panic swelled within, and that desperate question lingered again: could we ever truly connect? My heart raced, understanding that the dance floor wasn't just a place of magic, but also a battlefield where the lines between acceptance and rejection blurred perilously. As silence fell heavy, Zara looked at me, her radiant face now shadowed in uncertainty, and I realized that my next move might change everything. Armed with only the courage that thrummed in my veins, I stepped forward with shaky resolve, ready to stand against the tide. But in that moment, a sudden realization struck: mid-air laughter, the power dynamics, the looks of disdain. It wasn't just Zara they were after, it was me too. And everything I thought I knew was about to shatter. I took a deep breath, the air thickening around me as my heart thundered in my chest. The laughter of my classmates reverberated against the walls, a cacophony that threatened to drown out my thoughts. The moment hung in the balance, teetering on the edge of chaos or courage. How had it come to this? One moment of solidarity, and then the threat of ridicule swooped in like a dark cloud. Zara's eyes locked onto mine, and in that fleeting instant, I felt the weight of her vulnerability against my own. Her spirit seemed to extinguish, shadows pooling where light had once danced. The laughter aimed at her felt personal, wound-like. It dug deep into a place I had long kept hidden, reminding me of my own fears, my own battles. I felt a swell of responsibility, a longing to protect, not just her but the fragile connection that had begun to form between us. "Hey!" I called out, my voice trembling yet determined. The crowd's laughter paused, heads turning toward me in surprise. A jolt ran through me, igniting a flicker of defiance. "What's wrong with you? Can't you see she's just trying to dance?" the words tumbled out before I could stop myself, hanging heavy in the air. I knew I should tread carefully. This wasn't just about supporting Zara, it was about me stepping into my own truth, standing up for something I believed in. The silence was deafening, the weight of vulnerability pressing against my ribcage. A ripple of murmured speculation spread through the crowd. I could see a few of my friends, those I'd once shared light-hearted laughter with, their expressions oscillating between surprise and disappointment. Jess's eyes flickered with disbelief, and I felt an echo of doubt creep into my chest. Had I really just said that? Was I ready to take this stand? Are you here for the community dance workshop, or just to make fun of someone? I pressed, faltering slightly yet unwilling to back down. A boy from my class stepped forward, arms crossed, eyebrows raised. Is that a challenge? You want to dance with her? The question hung in the air, taut with ridicule. I could feel Zara's gaze shift, a flicker of uncertainty creeping back across her features as she clutched her arms across her chest. I was losing her. Why not? I shot back, words spilling out as adrenaline surged through me. What's the worst that could happen? We can just be ourselves. Maya, who had slipped her hand into mine earlier, nodded encouragingly. Nothing wrong with being real, she murmured softly, and I could feel her presence grounding me. Zara's eyes flickered with something curiosity, maybe? I felt her pull me in, drawing me closer to her world. But then, the negativity erupted again, erupting like a flame doused with cold water. Please, you think you can just waltz in here and be friends with her? You're not even a dancer. Another classmate spat, their disdain palpable. A wave of self-doubt rolled over me. Were they right? Did I belong here? For a moment, uncertainty clouded my resolve. What if I was just some girl jumping into a world I didn't understand? But looking at Zara, I realized it didn't matter. She had become more than just a dancer in a workshop. She was a kindred spirit navigating the wilderness of judgment and misunderstanding, and then something surprising happened. Zara, standing tall and centered amidst the chaos, drew a steadying breath. You don't have to be a dancer to support someone, she said softly, her voice breaking the tension like a knife slicing through silence. A powerful simplicity echoed in her words, resonating with everyone present. The laughter began to fade, but the energy still crackled in the atmosphere. Her strength wrapped around me like a warm hug, urging me to keep standing firm. I could feel her spirit igniting the sparks inside me. Perhaps, together, we could create an unshakable bond amid the storm swirling around us. Then, unexpectedly, Zara broke into a soft smile, one that seemed to pierce through the shadows. It was small but monumental, her lips curving upwards as if to say, I see you. With newfound courage buoying my heart, I stepped forward and extended my hand to her. Let's dance, Zara. Together. My voice felt steadier now, drowning out my fears. It was a simple invitation, but for both of us, it held so much more. She hesitated for a heartbeat, glancing around as if daring the crowd to jump in, demanding they either respect or dismiss what was unfolding. And then, with a resolve warmer than the midday sun, she reached out, my fingers intertwining with hers, igniting a connection that felt profound. But just as we began to move, the laughter tweeted up again, sharper this time. You actually think this will change anything? One of the boys barked, as if trying to eradicate the moment of hope we had created from thin air. Fear threatened to unseat me again, but I squeezed Zara's hand, signaling for her not to let go. Maybe not. But it's a start, I replied defiantly, bringing my other hands to my heart, feeling its thrum in a rhythm I hadn't known before. We started to move, slowly at first, each step cautious yet filled with the thrill of possibility. But as more eyes turned upon us and whispers rose, a sudden realization crashed over me like a tidal wave. The real battle wasn't just about fighting for Zara's acceptance, it was for my own. And just then, the gym doors swung open once more, but this time, it wasn't our mocking classmates that entered. Instead, it was a woman dressed impeccably in a bright red dress, her presence commanding and fierce. She scanned the room like a hawk, her gaze eventually landing on us, and something shifted in the energy of the space. Who's this? She asked sharply, gliding forward, and for the first time, my heart didn't race with fear, but with the exhilaration of discovery. Something told me this woman would change everything. The woman in red drew closer, her heels clicking assertively against the polished gym floor. With every step, I could feel the tension in the room shift, drawing attention away from Zara and me, as if she had cast a spell. The laughter faded, replaced by muted whispers and unabashed curiosity. "Dance," she proclaimed, a challenge etched into her words. So beautiful, yet so misunderstood. Her eyes bore into mine, and I could sense a profound depth behind them. She had an air of authority that instantly put me on edge, but also sparked the embers of hope within me. "Who are you two, performing what could be the most daring thing done here today?" For a fleeting moment, the crowd hovered at a crossroads. This was no longer just ridicule, it was an opportunity, a chance to rise above judgment and find our voices. I glanced sideways at Zara, who stood beside me, her energy palpable, her spirit aflame. Perhaps this was our moment after all. My heart raced not just with fear, but with the fervor of vulnerability. "I'm Alex, and this is Zara. We're showing that it's okay to just be us, despite the noise." Each word slipped out with more confidence than I'd expected, as though the weight of the world forged my resolve. Zara squeezed my hand tighter. I looked up to see her expression, one of uncertainty mingled with newfound determination. I had seen her vulnerable side, but now I was witnessing the power that lay hidden beneath. The woman in red nodded slowly, her intrigue evident. "And what if I told you there is a world waiting beyond this gym? A place where acceptance reigns over judgment, where differences are celebrated instead of cast aside?" Her voice was melodic, wrapping around us like a warm blanket. Then she laughed lightly, a sound so genuine it felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. "You see, in our lives, every single moment is choreography. Each choice we make is a step, and we all have a dance to claim." With a flick of her wrist, she beckoned us to follow her. "Come, let's show them what the real dance looks like." Before I could process her invitation, she caught Zara's eye. "And you're more than just a dancer, my dear. Every move you make is an extension of who you are, don't let anyone diminish that." It was as if she had peeled back the layers, revealing the raw essence of who Zara truly was. Emboldened, I took a bold step back toward the center of the room, urging Zara to join me. With the woman leading the way, her vibrant dress billowing like flames, we began to move in sync, our bodies flowing together, weaving a tapestry of past burdens and unimagined futures. The laughter and whispers transformed into something else: curiosity, awe, maybe even envy. The floor felt like our canvas, a stage where defiance danced in the air. As we swayed, I could hear the scattered beats of the music, the pulse of unity sinking together. It was intoxicating enough to make me forget the judgment that had shadowed us moments before. Just as I allowed a genuine smile to bloom on my face, something collided with me. A hard shove that felt all too deliberate. I stumbled backward, heart racing, momentarily losing Zara's hand. The momentum threw me against the hard gym wall. "What a pathetic display," a voice sneered, and this time it wasn't the laughter but the bitterness that rose up. I turned to see the boy from before, smirking as if it were a game. The crowd seemed to split, igniting divisions between those who cheered us on and those who stood firmly against us. With anger bubbling up inside, I prepared to respond, ready to defend what we'd dared to create, but then the woman in red stepped forward. She raised her hand, silencing the uproar with a commanding force that transcended the age of the students present. "Enough! Everyone here knows the power that dance carries." Her tone shifted, softer yet unyielding, capturing the attention of even the most resistant. "It demands respect, and it invites freedom. If you cannot appreciate that, you must re-evaluate your place in this room." The crowd hesitated, eyes darting between us and the woman. Shock evident. This was the disruption we needed, the push against the wall that had kept us confined to silence. Through the turmoil, I felt the weight of Zara beside me, her spirit rekindled. As the boy with the laughter turned to leave, an unexpected wave washed over the crowd, a murmured agreement, cautious applause timidly emerging like blossoms in spring. I could hardly believe my eyes as a couple of my classmates joined in, clapping against the rhythm. But just when I felt a sense of triumph, my gaze fell back on Zara. She stood frozen, her face pale, her eyes wide as if she were watching a distant storm swirl on the horizon. Suddenly her breaths quickened, her expression sharp with terror. "What's wrong?" I asked, my heart plummeting at the realization that her courage might have been fleeting. I just remembered. Her voice trembled, a whisper barely audible above the soft applause growing louder. "I'm not supposed to be here. If I'm discovered." My stomach dropped. Discovered? What do you mean? Before she could answer, the gym doors swung open again, this time revealing a figure I could only recognize from the edges of my memory, her mother, a protector and an enforcer of rules. Zara's expression was one of pure fear, and I felt my heart wrenched as I realized that the fight we had just ignited could collapse under the weight of her reality. Zara, don't, I urged, as I saw her knees buckle, an internal struggle etched across her face. In that instant, I knew we were at ground zero for more than just our dance. The stakes had risen dramatically. Would the dance we started allow her to break free from the chains of expectations? Would she choose to step boldly into the freedom of her own truth, or retreat to the safety of silence? The path ahead was uncertain, and as I reached for her again, her eyes wide with fear yet shimmering with hope, I realized this was only the beginning of a much larger, heartbreaking, and transformative dance. The room felt as if it were holding its breath, all attention now riveted on Zara and the looming silhouette of her mother, strong and unmoving in the doorway. The applause faded, replaced by an uneasy hush that smothered the air. My heart raced not just for the dance, but for her precarious moment balancing on the edge of a knife, between the euphoria of self-expression and the crushing weight of familial expectations. Zara, please, I whispered urgently, my fingers brushing against hers, searching for reassurance in her grip. But her trembling hand slipped away, retreating inward, paralyzed by the fear that flickered behind her eyes like a candle caught in a tempest. The woman in red stood poised between us, her confidence unwavering as she squared her shoulders against the approaching storm. Every dancer must learn to lead their own rhythm, she declared, her voice resonating through the tense silence. This is your dance, Zara. Only you can choose how it unfolds. Zara's breath hitched, a momentary flicker of defiance igniting the depths of her uncertainty. Yet the presence of her mother loomed heavily, a specter of the past that had stifled her dreams with 1,000 little deaths. My heart ached for her as I struggled to comprehend the gravity of the choice she faced. Just then, her mother took a menacing step forward, her gaze piercing like daggers. What is this nonsense? Her voice was laced with an urgency that sent shivers down my spine. You're out of line, Zara, dancing like this, like you belong here. You know where you're supposed to be. In that moment, I felt an overwhelming sense of raw vulnerability strike me. I was about to escalate the confrontation, to defend her, but I knew that would only deepen the chasm. Instead, I allowed my eyes to fall back on Zara, silently willing her to see us. The woman in red turned, her fierce spirit igniting the obscured flicker of resolve buried deep within Zara. You have every right to be here, child, she said, her tone softer yet firm. You deserve to embrace your identity, to carve your own path. No matter what anyone feels about your dance or your presence, you have the power to reclaim it. Zara's pulse quickened, her lips trembling as if they were trying to form words but were swallowed by her fears. I wanted to step in, to share my own truth, to tell her that I, too, was scared. But I couldn't allow my voice to overshadow hers. This was her time, her battle for freedom. Suddenly, the crowd parted, a gesture of solidarity from those who had witnessed what our spontaneous performance had stirred. Some who had once mocked us now took hesitant steps forward, ready to stand in defiance of condemnation. A girl named Leah, with rainbow streaks in her hair and a fierce expression that spoke volumes, lifted her chin and whispered for us all to hear, "You dance for you, Zara. Let no one tell you otherwise." Slowly, the tide began to shift. A boy from the back, one I had never spoken to, began clapping in rhythm, his enthusiasm contagious. One by one, others joined in, building momentum with their support, turning the silence into a vivacious heartbeat echoing in the gymnasium. The energy surged around Zara, each person affirming her right to exist in this moment, her right to express herself authentically. But beneath the swelling encouragement, I could see her inner struggle playing out like a poignant duet, a battle between the desire to break free and the heavy chain of her past. Zara, I called out softly, breaking through the din. You have the chance to create your own story here. Look around you. I gestured towards the crowd, who wore expressions painted with empathy and admiration. You might be scared now, but that fear can become your strength. It's okay to be afraid, you're not alone. For an eternity, we were suspended in time. Zara's gaze flitted between her mother and the community slowly encircling us, the warm embers of hope igniting something deep within her. And as I felt her heart wrestle with her thoughts, the unthinkable happened. Her mother stepped closer, the crease in her brow deepening. Zara, this is a mistake, she pleaded, her tone frantic but layered with desperation. You need to forget this nonsense. There are rules in place to protect you. Don't let the flames of rebellion blind you. But the words didn't resonate as they once might have. The room hummed with undeniable power, a chorus of voices rising towards a singular truth, one that danced on the cusp of everything Zara had been conditioned to believe yet could not suppress. With a profound flicker of determination igniting within her, Zara slowly lifted her chin, her eyes blazing with newfound courage. "I refuse to live in shadows cast by your fears," she finally declared, her voice a resounding echo in the silence that stillness had left behind. "This is where I must be to find my own light." As she took a tentative step forward, the air crackled with electricity, the unmistakable promise of transformation throbbing in the space between us all. But just as she prepared to embrace the freedom that beckoned, the heavy door slammed open, another figure making an entrance that shattered our fragile moment. With eyes wild, Zara's sister burst into the gym, breathless. "Zara! You have to come home. It's not safe." Her words fell like a heavy stone into the vessel of our moment, rippling through the crowd. Panic ignited in my chest, and I turned to Zara, the flicker of hope rapidly doused by a greater fear now bursting in our midst. As I reached for her, my heart ached, knowing that the dance of liberation we had ignited faced the fiercest adversity of an ultimatum that could peel away the very layer of courage we had worked so long to build. And as her eyes met mine, uncertainty flickered just beneath the surface once more. Would she run back to the safety of conformity, or would she step boldly into the unknown, ready to seize the life she so desperately wanted? The dance remained unfinished, suspended in a moment that felt forever out of reach, and as I stood there, holding my breath, I was left grappling with a solemn understanding. Destiny was not merely about taking steps, it was about daring to leap. Zara's sister's words hung between us, thick as smoke, engulfing the vibrancy of our moment in a chilling haze. "It's not safe," she had gasped, her face betraying an urgency that felt as disorienting as the sudden storm of panic alongside a rising tide of hope. The audience's applause faded into a heavy silence, their faces morphing from admiration to concern. "Leah," Zara whispered, her voice barely a breath, caught in the whirlwind of her sister's arrival. The defiance I'd seen flickering in Zara's eyes started to wane, replaced by a dawning realization of what was at stake. "I need to not now, Zara." Lee's voice cracked, drawing more attention as her wide eyes darted across the room, seeking recognition from anyone who could counter the storm she was warning her sister about. "You can't stay here. Mom's been freaking out. It's serious." I could feel the community's gaze, a collective breath held in solidarity, but everything began to splinter around us. The promise of every jubilant gesture and heartbeat began to wane, folding into the shadows of doubt as Leah stood like a guardian in front of Zara, barricading her from the budding freedom that had just begun to blossom. The warmth that had cocooned Zara started to retreat, replaced by a cold current of familial obligation that threatened to pull her back. "But I can't." Zara spoke, but her words faltered in the face of her sister's fierce protectiveness. "Two just started to find my there is no time for this." Lee's sharp insistence pierced through the tender tether connecting Zara to her newfound confidence. "We have to go now." With each passing second, the crowd began to feel like mere shadows, their support lingering like the scent of a fleeting memory brought forth by a heart in tandem, yet wisping away at the approach of reality. Tears brimmed in Zara's eyes, an expression of conflicting emotions spiraling like the final notes of a melody that wanted to soar but felt trapped in an unfinished composition. Suddenly, the woman in red moved next to Zara, a fierce protector drawing up beside the girl who had captured her spirit. "This is your moment too, Leah," she asserted, her voice steady, cutting through the cauldron of unrest. "You don't get to decide Zara's path for her anymore." Leah turned, surprised. "I'm just looking out for her. You don't understand what she's risking, what we're risking. You don't understand the price of silence," the dancer shot back, her resolve unwavering. "Zara needs to set her own course, and it starts with this dance. Can't you see that?" The undercurrent of disconnect between the sisters thickened the air almost suffocatingly. I could see that Zara was caught between duty and desire, lingering in the space where she yearned for freedom but was bound to the familial chains that traced back to a life lived in fear. "Zara," I urged once more, stepping gently to her side, hoping that my presence would reawaken the flame of courage I had seen earlier. "You are strong more than you realize. Remember the warmth that ignited your heart? It's not gone. It's just waiting. Whatever you choose, you deserve to step into your truth." Zara's gaze darted to me, desperation glimmering in her beautiful, expressive eyes that spoke of dreams unrealized and a longing that echoed in the space of the gymnasium. Yet the depth of doubt was undeniable, wrapped tightly around her heart. Lee's expression softened, and in her eyes, I glimpsed the storm behind her own facade. She stepped closer, pleading with her sister. "Zara, please, think about what you're doing. If you keep this up, you'll regret it." But just as she spoke, a girl from the crowd stepped forward. Jasmine, the artist who had painted murals throughout the neighborhood, whose work often reflected the beauty and strife of girls like Zara. "Regret?" she echoed, shaking her head. "That comes from abandoning who you are, not from embracing your dance." The crowd grew restless, murmurs of agreement rippling through the air, igniting a reconnection among us all, one rooted in shared struggles and solidarity. I could see Zara considering their words, vulnerable in the weight of their collective gaze. "This isn't just about you," Leah pleaded, her voice softer now, trembling with apprehension. "You don't know what Mom's capable of, what could happen if you stand up like this." "You don't know, tell me," Zara shouted, the frustration rising in her. "Tell me everything, Leah. Don't hide it from me. If I'm going to choose to face this, I need to know what I'm up against." The room throbbed with the tension of a watching universe, the very fabric of our connectedness pulling taut. I felt my own heart race as Zara confronted her sister, finally taking control of her narrative, but I also sensed the fragility of the moment that hung between us like a pendulum, each side vibrating with the potential for joy or despair. And just when it seemed a breakthrough was within Zara's grasp, a powerful voice boomed from beyond the gym's walls. Her mother, having entered with a fierce urgency, demanding authority in a world where Zara sought autonomy. "Zara, I mean it. Come home. Stay out of this ridiculous charade." In that instant, the dance came to a standstill, leaving us at the edge of an abyss, poised for Zara to step either into the arms of her mother's stifling acceptance or into an uncertain future that felt like a waking dream, trembling above the precipice of what could be. And deep within my growing fear, I wished more than anything to reach out and pull her back from the edge, but I could only stand, heart pounding in reverberation with the chaos we had created and the unimaginable choice she faced. Would she take the leap, or would she let fear guide her footsteps back to the shadows? The answer, I realized, lay in the next step she'd take, the dance yet to unfold. The tension in the room felt palpable, a heavy blanket smothering the last whispers of cheer. Zara stood suspended between two worlds, her sister's pleading gaze, filled with love yet edged in fear, and the rising tide of self-discovery beckoning from the circle of her supporters. I could see the veins of doubt and hope swirling within her, caught in a tempest only she could navigate. "Zara." Her mother's voice sliced through the air like a knife, bringing a rush of memories tainted by control and disappointment. "You think this is a game? This is not where you belong." In that moment, anger ignited within Zara, a flame fueled by all the confines and suffocation she'd endured, but fear still clawed at her heels, dragging her toward the opening where her mother stood like a looming specter of authority, her presence a reminder of years spent appeasing instead of embracing. "Mom, please," Zara implored, her voice steady despite the shaking of her hands. "You don't understand. I need to find out who I am, and this dance is a part of that." There was something courageous in her submission to her truth, a hint of the fierce determination I had seen earlier fluttering within her. "You're talking about throwing away your future, you know that, right? What if you screw this up?" Her mother's eyes glimmered with a mixture of expectation and fear for what Zara's decision might resonate in their home, the echo of lost dreams clawing at every word. "I've already screwed it up by not being myself," Zara shot back, the truth surfacing like a sudden eruption of a long-dormant volcano. "I won't let your fears box me in anymore." In the shifting shadows, I glimpsed Lee's expression, wavering between fearful concern and unyielding pride for her sister. She seemed torn, the weight of familial loyalty contorting her face as she stepped hesitantly to Zara's side. "Zara, listen," she reached out, her fingers brushing the air almost tentatively. "What if you lose everything? Your dreams could shatter or they could come true," Zara interrupted, her voice rising defiantly, pitching to a pitch of a small but powerful revolution. In that moment, the sight of her standing against her mother was a spark igniting a blaze in others around them. Jasmine stepped forward, a soft smile visible under the shadows of her curls. "You create your own fate, Zara. You may find yourself in ways you haven't imagined yet." The momentum shifted slightly, whispers of encouragement echoing in the crowd as a few others began to nod. I saw Zara's frame grow straight, a glimmer of resolve illuminating her once hesitant posture, but I knew it wasn't enough to silence her mother's thunderous authority. "Enough of this." Zara's mother barked, her voice slipping dangerously toward the edge of desperation. You have a family that cares about you. Stop playing games. Zara's breath caught at the mention of family, and I sensed the fissures of uncertainty creeping back in. The emotional gravitational pull of home and safety was powerful, but perhaps this was exactly why she had stood here, why she had the desire to Dancito reclaim her footing, her voice, and her identity from the shadows that had loomed too long. You may care, Zara said softly, her gaze unwavering, but that kind of care has made me feel small. I want a chance to shine. I want to live and dance unashamedly. As the words spilled from her lips, the electrifying energy in the room began to transform into something hopeful, the crowd collectively inhaling, sensing the potential for liberation. Then the doors burst open, and the arrival of a new figure took everyone by surprise. It was a girl, barely a year older than Zara, with bright pink streaks in her hair and a bright, defiant smile. She wore layered jackets that reflected resilience and grace, and she stood confidently in the doorway. Her eyes sparkled with a knowing warmth, as if she had walked through storms herself. I came as soon as I heard. She exclaimed, glancing at Zara, her voice full of sincerity. You're not alone, sister. I want to join you. It's time we shake off what's holding us back. The breath of the room caught a shift of warmth swathed Zara as she momentarily hesitated, uncertainty glittering in her eyes like stars against a deepening night. The unexpected kindness of this stranger pierced through the oppressive walls that had been closing in around her, sparking something bold within, but just then, as she swayed on the precipice of decision, Zara's mother surged forward, fatal urgency igniting within her. No! I won't allow this. She moved to seize Zara's arm, the movement swift, like the snap of a lightning bolt. In an instant of chaos, Zara ducked away, her determination the force that propelled her from her mother's grasp. The exhilaration of freedom surged through me, and yet, bombarded by the noise of turmoil, the echoes of shouting voices drowned out the collective breaths of spectators that now leaned toward the unfolding drama. Come on, Zara! Shouted Jasmine, liberators and the winds of changes cascading through the crowd. You were born to dance. Embrace who you truly are. With one glance back at her sister, whose expression now melded between fear and pride, Zara's eyes locked onto me, searching for reassurance. And at that moment, I recognized the crossroads before her. A leap either into the open arms of uncertainty or the crisp, familiar confines of safety. In a split second, Zara turned full circle, raising her arms, tension flowing out through her fingertips as if reaching for something unattainable but hovering tantalizingly close. And then the room held its breath in what felt like an eternity. Would she leap toward her long-sought freedom? Or would she forego her chance for a tether to the life she had always known? But as her mother stepped closer, anger saturating the air like a thick fog, it became evident Zara had a decision to make, a moment suspended in time begging her to choose courage over complacence. Each heartbeat felt like a countdown, the weight of a life still unwritten poised on her next movement, and in that haunting stillness, we all waited with bated breath as the dance unfolded before us, teetering on the edge of transformation or tragedy. The silence was electric, and it felt like the world had blurred around us, the crowd frozen in anticipation, breaths held in unison. Zara stood firmly at the center, her spirit dancing on a tightrope between risk and safety, defiance and duty. The vibrant energy of the room shifted as each moment stretched into infinity. Then, amidst the whirlwind of emotions, she closed her eyes for a breath, pulling in the strength from the moment, the voices of those who believed in her flooding her consciousness. But as she prepared to take that leap into the thrilling unknown, the urgency in her mother's voice cut through like a sharp knife, drawing all attention back. Zara! Don't be reckless. What about your future? What about your family? Each word rang out with an unsettling truth, punctuating the atmosphere like gunshots, challenging her resolve. And then, just as suddenly, a murmur rippled through the crowd, catching everyone off guard. I want to speak. It was a soft voice, hesitant yet unwavering, resonating from the back, where glimmers of hope often huddled, waiting for their moment to shine. The girl with pink streaks stepped back, eyes wide with curiosity, as another young woman made her way forward, a petite figure draped in a flowy white dress that captured the dim lighting. I recognized her. It was Aaliyah, a girl who had just begun to dance professionally a few months ago, yet she carried a maturity that belied her age. She beckoned with an open hand, her dark skin glowing softly under the stage lights as she made her way to Zara's side. Zara, I understand your fear. I know what it's like. Her voice held power like a flowing river, determined and gentle, rich with the weight of unspoken stories. But it's in this fear that we find our true selves. You're not just a dancer, you're a voice for those who feel trapped. A shift in the atmosphere unfolded, like a gentle tide. Something profound resonated in Aaliyah's words, reaching not just Zara, but the gathered crowd, igniting their hearts with invisible matches. A pulse of solidarity began to rise, an undercurrent of shared struggles, and it swept the room like a wave. I watched others start to nod, eyes glistening, some even wiping the thread of tears threatening to spill. Zara turned her gaze toward Aaliyah, feeling that bond form a touch on a path not taken, one that felt authentically hers in a world that often imposed its own definition of identity and success. "What if I fail?" she whispered, her confidence shaken as vulnerability washed over her. "How do you define failure?" Aaliyah's eyes sparkled with understanding, yet they held a depth that seemed to pierce Zara's barriers. "Is it not trying? Or is it never being true to yourself? Sometimes the greatest triumphs are born from our most fearless failures. I see light in you. I know you're meant for more than just fitting into someone else's dream." Zara stood there, the weight of Aaliyah's words settling over her like a warm embrace under a winter's sun. She searched the faces that surrounded her, her sister, her mother, her newfound ally, and the growing assembly of supporters in the room who had bravely shed their layers of doubt and fear to stand beside her, gathering the courage that had teetered on the edge of uncertainty. Zara opened her eyes, bright like embers kindled anew, and she turned once more to Aaliyah, taking a deep, profound breath. "Okay. I want to dance." But then, just as the joyous rush of hope surged through us, Zara's mother made one final, desperate attempt. "You have no idea what you're giving up. You realize this isn't just a phase? You're throwing everything away for this vague notion of freedom." Aaliyah took a step closer, her voice steady and powerful. "No, ma'am. She's not throwing away anything. She's letting herself discover who she truly is. Who she was born to be, unshackled by fear and expectation." The tension in the room thickened, a storm brewing while Zara's resolve hung delicately in the air. "You're right," she stated firmly, her voice of force rising from deep within. "I won't lose myself again." And as those words escaped her lips, they rang with the strength of 1,000 dancers breaking free, a fierce declaration that transcended the fear clawing at her insides. But before she could take a step forward, a loud, piercing shriek echoed from the back of the crowd. A shadowy figure emerged from the doorway, its features obscured, and a chill swept through the room, freezing everyone in their tracks, fingers raised ominously toward Zara's mother. "You won't get away with this." The voice cracked like thunder, a fierce promise of confrontation that sent shockwaves coursing through our collective hearts. In a breath, the air shifted again, now heavy with an impending storm, and confusion brewed like angry clouds rolling in. Zara turned to face this new disruption, her heart racing, fear leaping to life within her anew. In this unpredictable tide of emotional ebbs and flows, she stood at the edge of her destiny, caught between the vibrant call of freedom and the fracturing ties that threatened to pull her back. "Who are you?" Zara breathed as the shadowy figure stepped into the light, revealing a face that felt like an echo from her subconscious, a ghost she thought she had buried long ago. Her pulse quickened. Could it be? In that moment, everything hung in delicate balance, an intricate web of choices poised to unravel in the coming whirlwind. As the figure's identity filled the space with tension, Zara realized that every step toward her truth came with consequences, and she had not yet seen the full picture of what awaited her. Aaliyah's delicate presence became a powerful beacon against the growing shadows as the figure stepped fully into the light. The whispers of the crowd grew louder, uncertainty cascading like a waterfall around them. The tension in the air was thick, nearly palpable, each heartbeat drowned in an ocean of anxiety. It was Hera, part of Zara's past shed tried to reconcile but couldn't quite bury. Maya, her closest childhood friend, now stood before her, looking like a wraith of memories painted with the colors of lost laughter and untouched dreams. The once bright-eyed girl was now hardened, her features stark and starkly beautiful. But it was the anger that flickered in her eyes that shook Zara to the core. "Maya?" Zara's voice trembled, thick with disbelief. "What are you doing here?" The laughter and cheers that had floated in the air only moments before vanished, leaving a void that spoke more than words could capture. Maya's arrival was a storm on the horizon, dark and foreboding. "I could ask you the same thing," she shot back, her voice carrying weight and bitterness. "Tell me you're not about to throw your life away for this. It's absurd, Zara. You're jeopardizing everything." Zara felt her heart clench in pain as the echoes of their shared past rushed back, dancing barefoot in the park, sunshine on their faces, promises of forever. She had fought hard to reclaim that joy, to step into her own skin, but now Maya's presence felt like an anchor, dragging her down just as the wind beneath her feet felt all too real. I am not throwing anything away. I'm finally choosing to be true to myself, Zara shouted back, hurt and courage entwined in one fierce exclamation. The chatter around them faded into a distant murmur, the crowd leaning in with bated breath, pulses racing as the confrontation unfolded. Maya's expression faltered for only a moment, revealing a glimpse of the friendship they'd once had before walls had gone up, unspoken words shared instead of voiced. But they were still lost in a world that only remembered their silence. You think this is what you want? To dance for people who will never understand you? They'll never love you like I do. Zara could feel the sting of betrayal, it cut deeper than she'd anticipated. This is about more than just dancing. It's about owning my truth, confronting my own fear. Don't you understand? Her voice trembled, a desperate bridge reaching for the girl hiding behind the anger. Why couldn't Maya see that this journey was as much hers as it was Zara's, but the fire in Maya's eyes blazed brighter. You're being selfish. There are people depending on you, your family, your future. Each pointed word pricked at the tender stitches that held Zara's resolve together. You can't just abandon them to what? A fantasy. Something inside Zara shifted, allowing hope to ebb and flow back into the conversation. What if this is my reality? She exclaimed, glancing around the crowd, desperate to reclaim that spark she'd ignited earlier. What if finding my voice isn't abandoning anyone, but inspiring others? I can't be afraid to live anymore. The silence hung, heavy with possibility, wrapping them in a cocoon of uncertainty. Aaliyah took a step forward, bridging the chasm between the two friends. Maya, we all navigate our own paths. No one says it's easy, but being true to yourself has a ripple effect. You'd be surprised how many lives Zara can touch by being authentic. For the first time, confusion danced across Maya's features, her toughest facade cracking open. And what if she falls? She countered, pointing at Zara. What if she faces loss? It's a painful world out there, Aaliyah. I've seen it, I've felt it too, Aaliyah responded, her voice steady, painting the raw reality into the moment. But falling is part of life. It allows us to rise again, stronger than before. Comfort zones build hidden prisons. Would you chain someone you love just to keep them near? The crowd absorbed Aaliyah's words, shifting in collective contemplation. It was as though each spectator felt the weight of choices hanging over them. Zara's heart pounded, anchored between the fear of loss and the allure of hope that shimmered like a distant star. Maya, she called softly, her voice now breaking through the layers of charm and resentment. We were best friends, and I loved you. I still do. But I need you to understand that this dance is my way of honoring us both, the dreams we shared, the girl you once knew. I can't ask you to agree, just to let me breathe, Maya faltered, eyes softening but still uncertain, lost in the web of love and fear that clamped down on their past. Just as she seemed to lean toward understanding, the sound of a phone vibrating cut through the moment, the hypnotic glow of a sharp device drawing everyone's attention in an instant. Aaliyah deflated slightly, stepping back as it was met with annoyed murmurs. All eyes turned toward Maya as she answered the call, a shadow flickering across her face that Zara couldn't quite decipher. I have to take this, Maya muttered, voice laced with an edge of urgency as she turned sharply away, stepping back into the shadows from where she'd come. The tension shimmered, unbroken yet shifted. Zara held her breath, mind racing as she noticed the confusion on her mother's face, a combination of worry and anger both mixed and palatable. The momentary break sagged, tethered by circumstances Zara had not even begun to understand. With every passing second, the embers of her resolve flickered. What if this wasn't just a simple crossroads of friendship and dreams? Something bigger was stirring beneath the surface, a tangled connection that rocked her foundational beliefs about family, loyalty, and love. As Maya spoke, her figure shrouded in shadows, Zara could only grasp the flickering light overhead, her heart aching not just for her friend, but for the mystery unfolding around them, barely grasped in all its complexity and danger. She stood on the precipice of defining her life's direction, dancing between the weight of expectation and the untamed breath of freedom. Would she lose herself to the darkness? Or could she discover the beauty in both? As Zara prepared to step forward, her heart thundered, uncertainty flooding through her like an electric current. She had never imagined a single dance could bridge two worlds, yet now, threatened and trembling, a flickering spark ignited, urging her to embrace the freedom she sought. With Maya still absorbed in her call, and her mother staring in disbelief, Zara's voice rang out, stronger than before, "I choose to be seen." And when the words left her lips, they bore a gravity as heavy as the trembling revelations drifting just beyond the horizon. The moment stretched and trembled with weight, a fragile pause that melted into 1,000 heartbeats. Zara stood at the center of it all, radiating an intensity that was almost palpable. I watched her as if she were a star grappling with its own light, caught between the pull of the shadows and the gravity of her own brilliance. There was no mistaking it. This was a turning point, the climax of a battle long fought within the confines of her soul. The crowd around us felt electric, a tapestry of emotions woven through hopes and fears. Everyone seemed breathless, aware that what happened next would write our narrative not just as individuals, but as a community eager to transform. And as I observed Zara's battle unfold, something deep within me stirred, recognizing the thread of my own journey knitted to hers. The air was thick with anticipation, yet all Zara could hear was the pulse of her own heartbeat, steadily beating the drum of freedom through her veins. "I choose to be seen," she declared again, her voice resonating with defiance loud enough to create echoes of affirmation that instilled courage in a room full of doubt. In that declaration lay the raw truth of who she was and longed to be. The vulnerability of that moment drew me closer. I stepped forward, needing her to know she wasn't alone in this. "You are seen, Zara. You've always been seen," I called, crossing the crowded expanse, feeling a rush of warmth tethering our spirits together. "Let's dance." At my invitation, the crowd seemed to exhale, a wave of energy igniting the air, and for the briefest of instants, it felt like we were no longer just an audience witnessing a confrontation where heartbeats pulsing as one. Aaliyah smiled, stepping back yet maintaining her grounding presence alongside Zara, who looked at me with a combination of surprise and relief, her breath catching as if she had forgotten what it felt like to be simultaneously terrified and liberated. Yet, before our momentum could fully take flight, the tension snapped back as if a bowstring released. Maya finished her call and returned to the space, her eyes flickering with a mixture of desperation and determination. "Zara, please," she pleaded, her voice heavy with the urgency of friendship and concern echoing in her words. "This isn't just a game anymore. Your mother's serious about your future." But the glint in Zara's eyes was sharper than before, reflecting facets of strength that had been hidden beneath layers of fear and duty. "Maya, my future isn't one that only belongs to your fears or even my mother's expectations. It's mine to shape, to bend, and to dance into existence. You think running away will solve everything? You're making a mistake," Maya shot back, voice trembling on the edge of heartbreak. Her challenge caused waves in the air, tensions coiling tightly around intentions on both sides. "No, in making a choice," Zara replied, each word pouring from her heart, echoing like the beat of a drum frozen in time. "When we were friends, we danced, remember? I need to embrace that rhythm again, but now it's not just with you, it's with myself. It means honoring both parts of who I am." Maya stared at her, and for the first time, doubt rippled across her features, a flicker toward understanding that felt almost monumental amid the emotional warfare surrounding us. Zara took a step toward her, gently, as if reaching out to pull down the walls between their shared history and pain. "It's not that I don't love you, it's that love means fighting for both your dreams, not just mine." Aaliyah stepped closer to Zara's side, empowering her with quiet support. "Sometimes, it takes risking what we know to discover who we are meant to be." With tentative courage, I reached for Zara's hand, intertwining our fingers as she stepped forward, her warmth igniting the burning embers within me. "Come with me, Maya. Fight alongside me. You don't have to risk anything alone." The room hung thick with possibility. It was a moment suspended in space, and as Zara stood at the precipice, I could see a tear trickle down Maya's cheek, a testament to the tide shifting in her heart. "I'm scared for you, Zara." When the words finally broke free, Zara's heart seemed to soften. "I'll always be scared. But let my scars be a testament to my strength, not a cage holding me back." As if recognizing the bond that tied them together through both joy and anguish, Maya's resolve shifted, like a warm sun breaking through a dense fog. "But what if you fail?" she whispered, the words barely escaping her lips, filled with vulnerability faced toward uncertainty. "Then I'll dance through the failure." Zara replied, her confidence reigniting the room, lending air to movement that begged to burst forth like a symphony long muffled. Life is about falling and getting back up, a beautiful dance of learning to embrace both the light and the dark. And in that moment, the chaos around us began to untangle. The crowd awakened, pulsating with an energy that ignited the spark of solidarity. "Let's dance!" Someone called from the back, prompting laughter and the return of spirit that sunk into every corner previously shrouded in doubt. The gymnasium came alive again, and as the music began to swell around us, I saw Zara square her shoulders and lift her chin high. Holding her hand in mine, we joined the cauldron of swirling emotions, becoming a part of that beautiful chaos. "Together!" she shouted, looking around at the faces all transformed in that space. "Let's create this dance together." In that instant, everything shifted. It was no longer just about Zara's rising, but all of us guiding each other toward our truths, standing resilient in the face of every expectation that threatened to unravel. The rhythm began, and Zara led, spinning and twirling with an unshackled ferocity, our bodies giving voice to a collective yearning woven in forgotten hopes and dreams. Each step was a bold testimony etched into the air, celebrating the beauty of love and acceptance. And I felt it wrap around us, creating a symphony of colors as the dance illuminated that gym, crossing barriers once thought impossible, weaving compassion and courage into the heart of our story. The hurt receded, the laughter crescendoed, and hope surged, an anthem of every soul who longed to be seen, welcomed into the warmth of our burgeoning community. As we continued to move together, the laughter mirrored the pulse of our shared hearts, a melody resonant and unyielding in its sweetness. I turned to see tears streaming down the faces of my classmates, empathy flooding their expressions as if we were all experiencing the unfurling of wings together, unbound by expectations that had long since taken flight. And when I glanced back at Zara, her smile shone bright and vulnerable against the wild tapestry of our insecurities transformed into strength. In that moment, I felt a powerful surge within. This journey had transformed us all, unraveling the complexities bound together. And as the dance swelled to a crescendo, an unsuspecting hush fell on the crowd for one brief heartbeat before bursting forth in joyous applause, shattering the barriers of misunderstanding. In that gorgeous rawness, I realized we were never alone in our battles. We were a constellation of shared truths, discovering resilience across every step of our own journeys. In that moment, as laughter intertwined with music, and hope painted our gilded masks anew, we, each one of us, understood that the dance had not concluded. It had merely begun, unraveled from the weight, released into the world like a vibrant refrain, poised to echo forevermore in the dance of life. And so, we danced not just in defiance of fear, but celebrating every pulse of identity. We danced as one, embodying each other's stories, every heartbeat uniting on the stage where dreams were reclaimed and fears were released, awakening a symphony of our shared humanity. As the final notes faded into the air, our bodies still intertwined, we emerged not only as individuals but as a community alive with the rhythm of resilience, a testament to the power of connection and the beauty of embracing who we truly are. Because at our very core, lying beneath the surface, we discovered the ultimate truth, that the dance was never solely about the steps we took, but about each leap of faith toward the light, unafraid to reveal the beauty of our infinite selves. As I turned to Zara, my heart swelled with the understanding that we were no longer two separate beings battling a world that felt so alien. We were woven together, brave and luminous, igniting transformation even amid our most vulnerable moments, ready to dance into every tomorrow together.